Hi, this is On Imagination with a Healing Garden. I wrote an email just now. I sent it out. I sent out posts, and this is where I did a whole, let's step back and do this. Did you know that you have the authority to fire authorities from their position of authority if they in fact fail to deliver? Most people do not know this. This is true power. This is actually outlined in the Declaration of Independence. And Thomas Jefferson very clearly states, if you don't do your responsibility, the people have the right to fire you. Now, that being said, I am specifically talking on psychologists and teachers. Now, I acknowledge very respectfully that there are psychologists and teachers who truly are humbled and very good people. That's not what we are talking about here. At the end of the day, these people have to or have chosen to sign a contract with the devil. Bottom line. And it is so severe a problem that Google this, 50% of psychologists who study psychology quit the field of psychology because it is that tyrannical and unethical. This is the kind of information that is not presented to people. In the 1960s, a man by the name of, Edgar, one moment, let me look him up. I want to go over this once more. Edgar Dale, you can Google this, created something called the cone of learning. The cone of learning, scientifically based, shows precisely how a person retains information. Since the 1960s, it has been a known fact of how a person learns and doesn't learn. However, the cone of learning is 100% contradicting to the actual educational system. The educational system does not follow Edgar Dale's cone of learning. Now, I'm not going to get into the why. It does present the logical question, was this done on purpose and with malicious intent, or are they just that stupid? I don't know. I'm going to leave that for you to decide. But at the end of the day, there is scientific evidence of the cone of learning, of how a person learns, and the education system does not follow it. In fact, the educational system is designed to contradict the cone of learning. I'm going to say again, is it on purpose, or are they just that stupid? Regardless, let's assume for a moment, logic, the cold, hard bitch of truth. Let's assume for a moment that they did this on purpose. That makes them tyrannical, malicious predators who take advantage of uneducated people claiming to be authoritative on the subject of learning, and they do not have the authority to or the privilege of holding that position of power any longer. Let's assume that they're just that stupid. I rest my case. If they are so stupid that they do not know that the educational system that they've built contradicts the cone of learning, they're not qualified to be educators. So either the educators are malicious or completely ignorant and stupid. It does not matter how you want to say they are qualified or not qualified. They are not qualified. Furthermore, in the 1960s, neuroscientists proved that educators and the educational system is responsible for turning our 98% genius culture down to a 2% genius culture over a period of 20 years through the educational system, proven in the 1960s by neuroscience. In addition, the IQ 20 years ago, the average IQ was 120, and it has dropped to 100. People are getting dumber because of the educational system. This is not news. It's just information that's been kept from you. So it doesn't really matter if they are just not qualified or if they are abusive assholes who prey on you. Pick whichever side. At the end of the day, they are not authorities. They are not qualified to be responsible for anybody's education, period. I hereby dethrone the fuckers who claim to be educational professionals. Educators are either stupid or malicious. I'll let you decide which. Taking a look at psychologists in the field of psychology, before I even begin into this one's my favorite. There's an entire website called Mad in America. They are overflowing with substantial evidence in the malicious filth that is the field of psychiatry. Now, I'm going to be very, very aggressively blunt on this. There are two kinds of psychology in the world that no one has any idea about. The first field of psychology is Freudian psychology, which was invented around the 1800s by some dude named Freud. And then there is this bullshit lie that Freud is the father of psychology. You have been lied to. The real father of psychology is a man by the name of Pythagoras, who invented psychology in the year 400 BCE. And when you study Pythagorean psychology, it is simple, basic, concise, and easy. And it was so profitable that it literally was the science of human propagation. I have studied Pythagorean psychology. The rest of the world goes on Freudian psychology. There is currently a mental health crisis. One of my favorite things when I was digging into this was the field of schizophrenia, when I studied schizophrenia. I'm an ontological physicist. Schizophrenia is like a passion of mine because it's all over the place in philosophy and Pythagorean psychology and ontological physics, which is the study of reality. So when I studied schizophrenia while I was working on ontology, one of the things I noticed was an article, an essay, I have it on my website, that proves that psychologists have no clue what schizophrenia is or what causes it. They recently went through a $500 million research grant to try and figure out what schizophrenia is, and the results were inconclusive. They don't know. They don't know, oh, but they diagnose it, and they prescribe medications for it. Ontological physicists know what schizophrenia is because we study reality over in the world of ontological physics. So when you sit back and you look at the delusion that the field of education and psychology both have built, I then was presented with this case where I'm going, do I be the whistleblower? Now, I've got a lot of psychologist friends who tell me, don't do this. I have been advised many times to just not do it because they want to keep their profession, which I feel they are not qualified to keep. And that's really what this comes down to. Self-preservation for their own agenda at the absolute discredit and disadvantage of the American people and the world people for that. My ethics do not allow me to be quiet. Bottom line, it doesn't. I cannot do it. So I'm sitting here going through my work, and I can only get to the third ethic before I go, the delusion has to come down. The emperor is naked. And I'm going to go ahead and just explain very quickly what causes mental health or what mental illness is. Mental illness is 100% your inability or your ability to problem solve. That's it. In simplicity, there is truth, Newton. It is just your ability to problem solve. You are just lacking the skill of problem solving. That's it. That is it. There's actually a ratio. The better you are at problem solving, the happier you are. The worse you are at problem solving, the more mentally ill you are. The end. People who struggle with homelessness are the worst skilled at problem solving. The life journey and education and learning is learning how to problem solve in application. This comes from the skill and the academic discipline of logic, which has been strategically removed from our educational system. Again, stupid or malicious? I'll let you decide. I had to do a whole article just on stupid or malicious. Maybe I'll do that. I need a blog. Maybe this will be that blog. Stupid or malicious? And I'll let you decide. Are they stupid or are they malicious? Again, it really doesn't matter because they are not authorized to call themselves authorities. Because if they were, there wouldn't be a mental health crisis and there would not be a significant drop in the average IQ in our entire society. I also have a beef about economists, but I will say this. Between the economy, the education system, and psychologists, they're all three absolutely making a mess of everything, and they have tanked our society. When you study power economics, which is also taught in Pythagorean psychology, you realize that, well, this is like statistical fact, hello science, our society is collapsing. Here's how a society collapses. First of all, it is networking, which is what power economics is all about. When you have a class system, which you should not have, you should have a balance between all the different ranges of wealth, and the people who are in the foundational space of poverty should be sustained and nourished and wealthy enough through education and the nurturing of the cultivators to transfer as they grow and develop through the stages of life from point A to point B to point C. That's not happening. They're stuck at point A, which is the foundational play space. There's no flowing of them transferring from point A to point B to point C. Point B is absent from our culture. That is cultivators. Those are the people, educators and psychologists, who are supposed to be transferring data from point A to point B, from the visionaries over to the foundationals to say, you need life skills like problem solving. You really need problem solving skills. So the cultivators should be teaching problem solving skills to the foundationals. So the foundationals can get their asses out of foundational living into cultivating and then into visionary living if they want. Now, if they choose to stay in foundational, that's okay too. That's absolutely possible. And while they are there, they can also nourish the foundationals. The cultivators should be nurturing both the cultivator and the foundational, while the visionaries nourish the visionary area, the pioneer area, while also providing information so that the cultivators can do their job to pass it on to the foundationals, because the foundations are the foundation of a culture and civilization. The civilization and the society falls when the class systems are divided and the schism between wealth and poverty expands so that the high class increases and the poverty class increases and the middle class dissolves, which is what's happening. As the middle class dissolves, the system and the economy starts to wobble out of control, which is what you see with inflation and recession, reflation. That's back and forth because it's toggling out of control like a top spinning out of control. Eventually, it's going to collapse. And that is how economies collapse in 5 minutes or less. Economists have no idea what they're doing. They don't. That's why we have a massive problem. That's why the middle class is shrinking, is because economists don't know how to be economists, because the educators don't know how to be educators, and the psychologists don't know how to be psychologists. So technically, economists, psychologists, and teachers are not authorities, which is why the place is a fucking mess. You want to know what's wrong with the world today? We got a lot of predators claiming to be authorities. Bottom line. So I have a lot of people telling me to keep and preserve the delusion of the predators. Just make everyone better. I can't do that. The delusion has to break, which means I have to expose you. But they are more concerned about self-preservation than you knowing the truth. Logic is a cold, hard bitch of truth. So I am going to start an entire campaign called Logic, the cold, hard bitch of truth, stupid or malicious. And that's it, bottom line. I don't know. I'm not going to comment whether or not they are stupid or malicious, and I'm not going to be kind about it, and I will tell you why. Because I'm pissed. I'm really fucking pissed. Because what they are doing is absolutely predatory on people who require them, people who trusted them. It's so unethical. It's fucking dirty. We all should be pissed. And this is the best part. Anger has 3 stages to it. The 3rd stage is change. So as I get angry, I transfer that over into helpful, beautiful kinetic energy called newsletters, classes, education, to teach you what you need to know that they never taught you. So what you don't know about is called Pythagorean psychology. That's the first thing, because I love presenting a problem and then giving you the solution. So it's called Pythagorean psychology. It does not exist anywhere because, well, they buried this in philosophy. So Pythagorean psychology is one of the topics we're going to talk about. The other is called the lost science of human propagation, which I will also be teaching. And the other one is power economics. Now, there is a series of societal lies that feeds the delusion. And this is how this works. This is literally the lie formula. In order to build up a delusion, you have to be fed a bunch of lies. The lies are actually illogic. It's just false logic. Or it's called a logical fallacy. It's all the same thing. When you study logic, problem solving, and communication skills, your subconscious mind naturally eats that stuff and turns it into logical deduction all on its own. So the more you study logic, the problem-solving skill, and communication, the truth surfaces. And the emperor is naked. The whole system comes crashing down. So in order to ensure that the system stays up, they remove logic and problem solving from the culture, and they disable communication. I'll ask you again, are they stupid or malicious? So I'm going to go ahead and sit down and walk you through, not right now, but that's my class, that's Triadic Healing, that's the Healing Garden. We walk you through Pythagorean psychology, we walk you through human propagation, and we walk you through power economics. Now, one of the very first things you're going to learn in power economics is this. Network. Societal network is a gorgeous thing. It is literally a healing engine if it's done right. It's also a poison engine if it's done wrong. The societal network, mine is called Pando, is literally the fuel behind all of this. So every one of these things goes nowhere, but the moment you plug in a society and a network, the thing just runs on its own. That's how energy works. Physics. So this is how this goes. We have the Pythagorean psychology, we have the human propagation, and we have power economics. If you don't know, human propagation is the academic discipline of parenting, teaching, problem solving, skill building, learning, and education. It's literally all the tools you need to get you wealth, happiness, healthiness, prosperity, well-being. It's all of it. Human propagation, power economics, and Pythagorean psychology. I also have the history of, which is a whole nother thing. So there's the history of, which if you want to know why, how, and all that jazz, I've got that for you. And then we have the societal network, which is Pando, which is what completely fuels this thing so you can steer it and direct it into whichever direction you want it to go. Now, in addition to all of this, there is something which is communication, which is all power economics. Power economics is 100% communication. So we'll also be covering communication as well. This is literally tiered out for you in a prerequisitional learning pattern called Triadic Healing. Triadic because it's Pythagorean psychology, human propagation, and power economics. So triadic healing covers all three of these pieces, fueled together by that societal network, which literally takes you from wherever you are in life to wherever it is you want to go. I call this from dream to Z. If you are an aspiring business owner, we walk you through how to apply it to that. Human propagation, we walk you through that. Pythagorean psychology, it's all there. If you have a problem, any problem at all with mental illness, we have a lot that we cover. Again, this is all Pythagorean psychology. It is simple. I refer to this as practical, simple science for practical application. Simple science for practical application. That is exactly what we cover it on. So go ahead and grab the link below. To get started, just join the 12 Ethics email challenge. That lays out the stepping stones. The 12 ethics are Plato's curriculum. Plato had a curriculum. I am the only one in the world who actually studied and did his curriculum. Philosophers don't study his curriculum. I don't know why. Probably because the educators are in charge of their educational system. Plato's curriculum is everything. It's everything. And when you study his curriculum and you follow it, your education is on an entirely different level. And that's actually what I present to you here, is his curriculum with the stepping stones so you can follow Plato's curriculum. And it is substantial. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.